On people's lips inside Iceland this week, gangland murder and kidnap case continues. ATM with the equivalent of 180,000 US dollars found. Iceland's education system is under fire. Academic freedom and questions of anti-Semitism. 150 volunteers hunt for missing child. Job losses across fish processing, tech and tourism. Flight diversion due to air traffic controllers being ill at Keflavik. Chaos in Reykjavik. Iconic Icelandic song is being released with the support of Britain's Manchester Symphony Orchestra. Ice guys are back, and you'll never guess what's been causing fires in Reykjavik. My name's John. Welcome to Inside Iceland this week, the highlights of happenings in the frozen north in a short 15-minute podcast for fans of Iceland all around the world. Welcome. Regular viewers will remember that last week we discussed the kidnap, extortion and murder case which has gripped Iceland. As a recap, an elderly man was kidnapped from his rural town after agreeing to meet a teenage girl over the internet. The girl's profile was fake and had been created by a criminal gang. Those criminals told the man he would have to pay them 3 million krona, which is about 20,000 US dollars, for protection, or they would publicize his activities. The man said he didn't know his online banking details, so the gang kidnapped him, eventually breaking into his phone, gaining a loan for 3 million krona, which was approved in just 3 minutes. They then transferred the money into the account of a teenager, during which time they beat him, stripped him, and left him incapacitated outside in the middle of the cold winter's night. The man died the next day from exposure after being found and rescued. But now further details about the victim have emerged. Back in 2017, the victim was diagnosed with a rare type of early onset frontal lobe dementia. His condition had worsened in recent months. Doctors confirmed the man had started to seek women over the internet despite being married, a situation which caused his wife and caregiver significant distress. However, this type of confused behaviour and poor judgment is associated with this very rare type of dementia. The fact this could get so out of hand means that inevitably questions will be raised about the standard of dementia care in Iceland, especially for extremely rare conditions like this one. An automatic teller machine which had 22 million kroner inside has been recovered after being stolen from an East Reykjavik bank. The money was still inside. 2 people were arrested in connection with the brazen theft, one of whom remains in custody. Iceland's school system continues to come under a critical eye. Atli, a professor at the University of Iceland School of Education, says the contemporary standards in the National Curriculum Guide are, in his words, just nonsense. The academic performance of primary school children in Iceland has declined significantly and is now far below the OECD average in all subjects. The situation is worst when it comes to reading comprehension and mathematics. According to the OECD, Iceland's failing education system could cause productivity to decline by as much as 5% in the long run. This is among the recent findings of a much broader OECD report on Iceland released earlier in the year. In the rural Westfjords, high school statistics shared this week show students don't turn up to school for a huge 5 weeks of the academic term each year on average. Although noted as a concern, no explanation for the trend has been shared, but experts note such absence will definitely impact academic performance. Adley points out parents are losing faith in the system. He says reforms simply won't work unless the public truly values education and supports teachers. He warns that constant reforms and ambitious action plans actually undermine trust in schools. Instead of stability, he says, Iceland has suffered from a recurring reform plague, with big initiatives launched before earlier ones take root and succeed. Nonetheless, some areas are now beginning to introduce standardized tests, which will allow for the performance of different schools and classes to be compared. It's hoped this new system will allow for problem schools and classes to be pinpointed so targeted improvements can be made. Freedom of speech is in the spotlight, as is the question, is Iceland anti-Semitic? A war of words has emerged at the University of Iceland following a campus protest earlier in the month. It stems from protests which meant a lecture by Jewish professor Gil S. Epstein had to be abandoned, with some claiming this was an attack on academic freedom. Epstein's talk on artificial intelligence was scheduled to take place as part of the pre-term activities. Protesters shouting over him meant the whole event had to be abandoned. Although everyone acknowledges people have a right to protest, the question has emerged: do they have the right to silence others? And to what degree was it the visiting professor's religion that caused the events? 150 volunteers searched for a 12-year-old boy who went missing from a holiday cottage on the south coast. Reports suggest the boy, who was with a family of tourists, went missing about 4 p.m. on Friday, but fortunately he was found safe and well that night. Despite the wet conditions, he was released from a Selfoss medical facility back to his parents on Saturday morning. In business news, 50 workers have been laid off at a fish processing plant on the Westman Islands. The company blames rising fishing fees, which will total nearly 1.5 billion kroner for the company next year. This comes shortly after the Parliament increased this toll, and fish imports to the United States are subject for 15% tariffs if they are sourced from Iceland. Meanwhile, there's more layoffs which have been announced in the northern capital of Akureyri. The tech company's CEO has resigned and 9 staff have been let go, with more cuts possible. The company has been struggling under sanctions linked to its former Russian owner, Norbo, an integral part of Russia's shadow shipping fleet, which allows Russia to export despite sanctions. And continuing with our jobs focus, reports suggest up to 70 Icelandic job losses at budget airline Play, which is in the process of leaving Iceland to relocate to Malta. From October, Play will hand back its Icelandic license and end most routes from the country. Some better news is that Play has raised $23 million through a bond auction, which is more than expected. The airlines faced heavy losses of over $40 million in the first half of this year. 4 planes will continue flying from Iceland to sun holiday destinations, but the remaining 6 aircraft will operate subcontracted flights on behalf of other airlines, but not to and from Iceland. Not good news for flight prices, I guess. Sticking with aviation, a Wizz Air plane from Milan was forced to divert to eastern Iceland after an illness left Keflavik air traffic control short-staffed. It's not thought airliners having to divert due to air traffic controllers being sick has happened before, but please comment below if you know any differently. The aircraft landed safely in eastern Iceland, refueled, and did eventually continue to Keflavik. For music lovers, last night marked the 10th live broadcast of the Icelandic Symphony Orchestra's gala concert on RÚV, and this year it was streamed into swimming pools across the country. However, that was not the case everywhere in Reykjavik. Last week we explained Reykjavik's West End pool has been forced to shut down after recent repairs were so bad they had to be redone. The pool did open for a few days, but as you can see here, poor quality workmanship hit again, and the pool is closed again to resand its slippery steps. At the same time, Reykjavik's downtown pool reopened after similar works for a whole day, and it's currently closed again. In the south of Iceland, health officials warn poor quality water in several pools may force closures unless improvements are made. Iceland's pools use geothermal heated glacier water, which doesn't require pre-treatment. The problem emerges when people visit local pools but are too modest to shower thoroughly without swimwear before entering the water. Icelandic pools are unique because you won't see many people swimming. The main attraction is lagoon or spa pools, which are the centre of each community. If Parisians have cafes, Iceland has geothermal hot pot pools. They're where friends meet after work, kids go to play with their friends, teenagers have dates, and retirees go for a daily chat. So these closures hit the community right across the age range very hard, much more so than in other places around the world. In entertainment, comedian Laddie and musician Mark Gunnarsson have released a new version of the classic song E Street, backed by Manchester's Symphony Orchestra. Mar will also perform concerts in both the UK and Iceland this autumn, or fall if you like, but if you're in either place, check out more with Google. Perhaps it could be a good, fun thing to go and attend. If you visited Iceland in recent years, you may well have seen posters for Ice Guys and thought, why have they got a middle-aged boy band? Well, the new series 3 of this TV comedy Ice Guys continues to generate buzz, with brothers Fredrik Dorr and Jon Jonsson, both of whom are real-life musicians, plus a cast of rappers and football players playing exaggerated versions of themselves. While it may not be to everyone's taste, if you like 90s boy band tracks, check out Ice Guy's music online. It stands up pretty well, and it's what all the youngsters beneath about the age of 12 in Iceland love. And finally, a safety reminder. Everyone knows Iceland is a land of fire and ice, but police have warned homeowners about a very unusual fire hazard: sunlight. Two recent house fires have started when sunlight passed through glass objects, one a mirror and the other a water-filled ornament, whatever that means. Damage was fortunately limited, but the authorities have urged caution about what's placed in windows on sunny days. Now, I'd have thought the water might have stopped the fire, but clearly not. What do I know? And that's the latest from inside Iceland this week. It's what people here have been talking about. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, remember we're here, and please come back next week for more updates. Lots of love. Ciao.